Hey, happy, beautiful, amazing day. Dr. Bob Rakowski here out of Houston, Texas, April 11, 2020, with some great news and emerging evidence that should save a lot of lives. Remember, my favorite strategy is prevention trumps cure, and certainly there's a lot of debate about what's the best prevention strategy. But let's move forward. So today, there are now 1.7 million cases on the globe, little over 103,000, I guess almost 104,000 deaths around the world. Let's compare that with some other viruses. The seasonal flu, over 134,000 deaths, and HIV, 466,000 deaths. If we looked at the numbers, it seems that we should be putting some emphasis on those circumstances. You've seen this graph many times, World Health Organization expert with the curve of epidemics. And it looks, we take that curve and we figured over the world cases, it certainly looks like the entire world has peaked. They're on the way down on the recovery scale. That certainly is good news. We look at the United States, they should be getting closer to peak. I don't know if they have just yet, but hopefully the death rate has peaked because this emerging data, a lot of it comes out of New York where they're having so many challenges. We look at Italy, clearly they peaked, they're on the way down. It's a shame we didn't have the information to help those folks, but at least we have it moving forward. Spain appears to have peaked and they're on the way down. Canada, not sure about that, might still be rising, might have peaked. UK, same thing, but anyways, people are near the midpoint. The world seems to be over the peak point and on its way to recovery. So here's the emerging evidence. The COVID actually attacks hemoglobin. That is the part of your red blood cells that carry oxygen. Now, this is out of the New York Times. I consider the New York Times a pretty good and thorough publication. I know people that have written for the New York Times. They have phenomenal editors. They have people that really pay attention to the science. You will likely never find a spelling or grammar error there. It is a top-notch publication. But here's what it says. Generally speaking, 40 to 50% of patients with severe lung disease, respiratory distress, die while on ventilators. But 80% or more of the people with the coronavirus have been dying when on respirators. The UK says about 66% of those people are dying. Wuhan, about 86% early on were dying while on a respirator. So we're not saying that respirators are bad because some people need them, but here's what the researchers said. You can limit the danger of the respirator by limiting the amount of pressure. So we want to turn down the pressure. We don't want to take this fragile tissue and force air into it. And we can also decrease the size of the breaths, decrease the pressure, decrease the volume, and you're going to have a better probability of delivering oxygen. But here's what we know. People with diabetes could be up to twice as likely to die for the complications. Why? Because diabetes damages hemoglobin. The best long-term marker of diabetes regulation is something called hemoglobin A1C. And a study many years ago showed that you want a hemoglobin A1C of 5 or less for longevity. By the time people got to 6.0, there was a 28% increased risk of death from all causes. Now what we're showing is diabetes doubles the risk of death from this coronavirus. Why? Because hemoglobin is already damaged. So we now know we certainly want to protect our diabetic patients more. We also have talked that when blood glucose elevates, the immune function is decreased. So that gives diabetics actually a double whammy and could contribute to the problem. Now, Bill Gates, this was a publication November last year. It said Bill Gates is the world's richest man again. He passed Bezos. You know, I don't know, both these guys are really rich. So if I wanted advice on getting rich, I might talk to Bill Gates. But if I wanted advice on viruses, look at his record with the computer industry. I'm going to say dismal at best. He certainly didn't solve any viral problems there. Maybe that's an overstatement. But his strategy was not a long-term effective strategy against viruses. So, you know, we're advised by sages of wisdom, take advice from experts. Last I checked, he's not a health expert. And I'm going to say certainly he hasn't come up with effective viral strategies. What's a really good strategy? Optimists live longer. This is over a 40-year study out of the Mayo Clinic. Stay happy. What's the best way to stay happy? Give happy. I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, absolutely knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and successful. So enjoy this beautiful, amazing day. Give happy, stay healthy.